So last night I was scrolling through YouTube and this interesting video by StarTalk with Neil deGrasse Tyson and his host came up on my feed, and it was about the 4 dimensions. In this video, Neil explains how 2D, 3D and 4 dimensions work. While I was watching this video, I had this kind of revelatory experience, this kind of mind-blowing revelation that I wanted to share with you guys. And not only that, I just wanted... So Neil is this crazy smart guy, and he has this gift of, taking these overly complex topics and just simplifying for everyone. But there are cases where, even normal people like you and me, we need more guidance. We have more questions. It just sparks our curiosity. It doesn't fit it to the fullest. So what I'm doing this video is to tell you about my revelation, how everything connects, the string theory, multiverse, even the idea of God, to also explain it in more simpler terms and to answer more questions that you might have. Because if you are a normal person like me, you know that science can be very complicated. So in order for us to simplify it and to understand it more easily, I have here a piece of paper on which I wanted to start by doing the explanation like Neil did, but in my own way. So without further ado, let's start. So this is a very artistic representation of how 2D universe would look like. So first you have the sheet of paper. This sheet of paper, with these 2 characters, Bob and Angela, let's call them like that, this is their own whole world as they know it. This is their universe. Now, when you look at a 2D, what is a 2D? So a 2D, it means that it's a flat surface and it only has width and height. Now, if you are a 2D person living in this universe, that means that you can see left and right, up and down. Now let's look at Angela and Bob. If Angela wants to look at Bob, she won't see his eyes, she won't see his mouth, she will only see this outer edge of Bob.
What?
Same as Bob. If he looks at Angela, he will only see her legs, the body, so they cannot see anything past that. Angela in its full shape or Bob in its full shape. Now, here is Bob again. Here I've made a more anatomical, accurate representation of Bob. Now let's think Bob is a surgeon. This is the example that Neil gave. Let's think Bob is a surgeon in his 2D world. If Bob wants to operate on himself, he will have to draw lines in order for, so if he wants to get to the heart for a heart transplant. Remember, Bob cannot see only the outer edge. He will have to cut, erase this little line from here, and then he will get to the heart. He will basically have to decimate himself in order to get to the heart so he can perform a transplant. Now, if you're thinking about this in a 3D universe, it's 3-dimensional. It means that we have the width, the height, but also we have the depth. So we as a 3D observer of Bob and Angela's world, we can see from up above. By seeing from up above, it means that we can also see what's inside of Bob, like his heart. And if I want to perform a heart transplant on Bob right now, it's easy for me. I can just erase, imagine I have an eraser right now, I can just erase his heart, put it here, get a new heart, which is healthy, and put it back. So, in one idea, that could make us gods. That could make that's a magic trick, right? In Bob's and Angela's world, that's a magic trick. And we'll come back to that later on, but I want to explain the 4th dimension. So, in the 4th dimension, we are not 4-dimensional beings.
What? What the?
We are aware of time, but we cannot do anything to influence it. So, as Bob cannot do anything to influence the state that he is right now, we cannot do anything to influence the state of time. And life as we know it, for us it exists as it is because of time. Because we are born and we die. And everything that happens in between, like the birth of the universe, everything like that happens only in our 3D space. For 2D means that we can have an infinity sheet of papers right now, right? An infinity sheet of papers, or let's say a 10 sheet paper, that would form a book. If you look at a human from this point of view, imagine this is 3D, and you put him in an MRI scan. The MRI would take slices in order for the MRI machine to look what's inside. That's a magic trick. Magic. That's something that if we were to ask somebody 100 years ago, they would say, that is crazy. That cannot happen. Now, the thing that sparked the most interest to me, and the reason I started asking questions, is because my curiosity was not fed enough. So obviously, you know, there is this cool little thing that the kids are using nowadays, and it's called Gemini. So I had an interesting conversation with Gemini because when you watch a video, obviously Neil can explain just so much, but his purpose is to spark the curiosity, and it's your purpose to keep feeding it. So I went to Gemini in order to get more research and to look more about this topic. And I would like to walk you through it and to show you my chat I had with the AI tool and the revelations we had together about how all the things are interconnected and how this could explain the mythologies and the religions and all the Bibles and the things we had in the past. So the conversation started with, I told him about the podcast, the StarTalk, I told him about the video, and I started asking questions. And here we were talking about light reflection and color and, you know, how would life look in a 2D universe? Obviously, life in a 2D universe and even in a 4D universe would be nothing like we expected. Our brains are not capable of imagining such thing. Why? In order to have color, you will need to have light. And in order to have light, which is a 3D wave bounce, you will need to be in a 3D universe. So he says here that the poop problem, it means that the digestive tract from our mouth to our bottom, it would separate a person in half, which means they will have to live like a sea animal, which means that they will have to eat and they will have to poop at the same time, which is disgusting. Impossible. Also, a total lack of brain power. Our 3D brains work because neurons can cross over, under, and around each other in all directions. In a 2D flat planes, wires or neurons cannot cross over each other without smashing. So Bob will be pretty dumb. And then the third one, which is the theory of relativity, is gravity doesn't work. I think it doesn't need any more explanation. It's obviously one in 2D universe, gravity wouldn't work. But because life doesn't exist in a 2D universe doesn't mean that a 2D universe is impossible. That's what I was asking, because that's what I thought it was, because if life doesn't exist in a 4-dimensional, it exists in a way, because that would mean that when you look at Interstellar, and we'll come back to this example, those are beings that actually guide Cooper on how to, you know, heal the planet. In a 2D universe, life is impossible because of these examples, so how things work. So I was asking, if a 2D universe is impossible, then how come a fourth one is? A 2D universe isn't mathematically impossible, it's just structurally and biologically starved. It doesn't have enough geometric wiggle room to support the complex interconnected systems needed for life, like brains, crossing neurons, and digestive tract. And here it gives us two scientific issues as to why it's mathematically possible to have a 4D universe. But the issue is that even though life doesn't exist, it doesn't mean that the 2D universe is not interacting with ours. Here is where string theory comes through. String theory, we says that there are a lot of like I don't know, 10, 11 dimensions. So it means we are basically at the lowest of the food chain. But if you want to have 11 dimensions, it means that everything has to be built on top of it in order for it to work. So for us as a 3D universe, we are surrounded by an infinity of 2D universes. The paper I'm seeing here, right? This is a 2D universe, is the same thing. The example I gave you with MRI, slices of us, is the same thing. I also asked this somewhere around here. I don't remember exactly where I asked it, and it gave me a really good example. But the most important part here is that the same thing will happen for the 4th dimension. The 4th dimension will have to be made of an infinity of 2D universes, an infinity of 3D universes, so on and so forth. That means that the multiverse is real. That means that string theory exists. And that means that if right now I'm able to look at this drawing I did right here in Angela and Bob worlds, I am able to influence them however I want. That means that a 4-dimensional being could be able to do the same. The issue is that we are aware of the 4th dimension. However, we are not able to change it. We are aware of time. You know, we know the past, we know the future. We have something that animals don't really have, the consciousness of time. That's what really makes us conscious, you know, the fact that we are aware that time exists. With that being said, Gemini says it here really good. We are prisoners of the present. We are aware that a fourth dimension exists, but there's no way we can influence it. So I was asking naturally the second question, like I was laughing. We are only aware of its existence, but not able to change the future of the past. Could a 2D person have the same feeling? And they say here how a 2D person experiences the 3D dimension. Imagine a 3D apple falling straight through Bob's flat tabletop world. Bob can look up and see the apple is coming, so from his perspective, the third dimension doesn't look like a physical space. It looks like events happening over time. So the future, Apple is hovering over the table, Bob has no idea it exists. So I'm having this picture right here that I draw of Bob. Right now, I can influence this guy world however I want. For him, I'm a god right now. I take an apple or I just put this and I put it here. This just appear out of nowhere. It's just like magic to him, right? And then I take it off. Bob doesn't know what it is. Bob doesn't know what it appeared from, who did that. He just saw that point. And remember, he saw it as a geometrical, like just a dot, a red dot. We put it like a black dot or a black dot. Let's imagine it's this tip right here. And then it just disappeared out of nowhere. So as the top of the apple passes through, the circle shrinks back into a dot and vanishes into thin air. That's how a 2D person would experience the third dimension. It's the same thing. He cannot do anything about it. I can do whatever I want right now. He has no power to influence that. And that's the same thing with fourth dimension. I have no power to influence the time, but the fourth dimension, being living outside of time, being aware of it, and grasping that that concept, will be able to change time. So obviously, going to the next question, do we have any evidence or at least myths about something a 4D person could do so we can acknowledge their existence in our recorded history? Because when you think about it like this in the example I gave you, obviously it's pretty clear where I'm going with this, right? We always have this notion in the Bible about God. God, it's in many ways of forms. In every religion, it appears at the omnipresent deity. So they said, obviously Gemini said, from a scientific point of view, and we know that there is no scientific evidence of a 4D being, but if there were, and in mythology is captured, it would look like apparitions and omnipresence, angel and deities, which this is something I will talk to in a second. But first I wanted to discuss about the more simpler one, which is about why ghosts pass through walls. And here they gave us this crazy example about the root of a ghost and in the house they died and how it changed after a century. So here you have the house where the ghost died. This is the floor plan of a house in 1878. They know that in order for them to get up the stairs, they will have to pass through this door, go through the hall, and then go up the stairs. But see, the ghost lives in that time. 100 years pass, and then the house changes. Obviously, the new owners, they want to make some changes. I want to move the stair from here to put it to here. I want to add more rooms. So obviously, the ghost would not know that. The ghost stuck in that time, doing that same route, it looks like it's the same, even though for us, in our reality, it doesn't look like that. So that's why the ghosts are able to go through walls when we see them, when we perceive them, when, let's say, theoretically, there is this concept that we can see a ghost passing through walls, right? A shadow figure. That's what actually is happening. The ghost doesn't see us. The ghost is not able to interact us. The ghost is not able to interact with the objects that are in our time. The ghost is able to interact with the objects that are in its time. So that's why when you show me ghost videos, I'm not really believing that they are able to interact with us in that way. They might be real, they might be stuck in a time where things are just repeating themselves like hell, if you will, but I'm not sure if they, according to science, if they are able to pass to, interact with us. So I was wondering, if we cannot see a 2D universe, how could the 4D universe see a 3D universe? This was actually really cool because here is where I understood the multiverse theory. So obviously we discussed about the string theory, now we're discussing about the multiverse theory. The reason we cannot see a 2D universe is because we are looking for it in the wrong way. We are looking for a physical place out there in space, like, we are living here, and then you see a scientific breakdown. We just found a 2D universe. That doesn't exist. It's not possible. Our thinking doesn't allow us to know. I mean, it allows us to think theoretically, but we cannot look somewhere in space for a 2D universe. And why? Is because we are looking at a 2D universe at everything we are seeing. We are made of an infinity of 2D universes. That's the same for a 4D universe. And when we scroll down, you're going to see how crazy it is, how Gemini says 4D being would look at us and how they would see us. So it gives a cool example here. Imagine you're playing a video like Pac-Man or Super Mario. So when you're playing Pac-Man, you're looking at the video game. Let's imagine the video game is right here. That's a 2D plane they are living. Mario or Pac-Man, let's put Pac-Man. Pac-Man cannot see only what's his left, right, up and down, but you are the god. That's why you can tell Pac-Man where to go. And I think I'm messing things up, but imagine it's a game with a thing that they have to go through a maze in order to get to the point. You can see the full maze. That thing can only see inside. That's why a maze is such a good representation, food experiment or food thought experiment, because you can see from above, you can see the full maze. Whoever is inside can only see the next exit or the next turn or the next door. So in a way, you are a god because you know what's coming. You can see past. Now he says here how a 4D being, a god, can see our world. Now imagine this here example with Pac-Man, Mario, where you basically are gods in this game. Imagine these new games like Red Dead Redemption or GTA 5, where these crazy good content creators, they take this camera function and they can look everywhere inside. They can see past. Imagine you are a character now in GTA 5. In GTA 5, you are a character which looks a lot like a human, where it's a 3D world, you can interact with it, you can see up above, you have height, you can do whatever you want, but you still are limited. The only one who is not limited in that is you as the player, because you have this option of camera. You can go above, you can see from up above everything. You can even look inside objects. You know that glitch when you look inside a character, you can see its creepy eyes from inside. See, that's what it is. That's when you're becoming a 4D being in that video game. So what it says here is that this is basically the all-seeing eye with omnipresence, because it's everywhere at once, and omniscience. It's knowing all the secrets. So that led me to another question. So a 2D universe is not just possible, but it exists because we can draw it, we can manipulate it. The only difference is it doesn't have life. So for Bob right now, I can do whatever I want. I can erase him from here and I can put him in I can make him smaller, make him bigger, make him thicker. I can take this piece of paper to go and take it over to Alaska. So I can manipulate it the only way I want it. The only difference is that there's no life in there. So here that we can observe in the sense one would expect planets, and so one basically we are made of an infinity of 2D universes. I was asking here because I'm telling you this, but I'm not really sure. I wanted to see if it's really correct, my thinking. So life could, for a third-dimensional being, could be the same, formed by an infinite amount of 3D universes, and life could mean something completely mind-boggling to us for them. So you're completely right. A higher dimension is literally made of an infinite stack of the dimension below it. Multiverse theory. Are we made of an infinity of 2D universes? And yes, geometrically speaking, we are. The 4D hyper creature, this is very crazy. To them, a human wouldn't look like a person. To them, the 4D being, we would look like a long, undulating 4-dimensional snake or tube, where the tail of the snake is your birth, the middle of the snake is you reading this text right now, and the head of the snake is your old age. They see all these 3D slices of your life simultaneously as one solid permanent object. What would life mean to them? Well, mind-boggling biology, a 4D being wouldn't wait for a wound to heal. Healing is a process that happens over a 3D timeline. Because they occupy the whole timeline at once, the healed part of their body and the injured part of their body exist simultaneously in the different areas of the 4D structures. And their thoughts are sequential. Our thoughts are sequential. A leads to B, B to C. 4D brain will experience everything at once. They would experience 1 trillion thoughts across their entire lifespan, all at the exact same instant. They wouldn't change their mind. Their entire life choices would exist as a single unchanging geometry shape, which is crazy. And here we go into more crazy ideas. So we're going here into religion. Now, I'm not a religious guy. I'm a spiritual guy. I believe there is something more. There's something greater than us out there. I believe in God, and I dare to say I believe it also in Jesus. Why? The idea of God is possible, and according to science, quite feasible to the string theory and multiverse theory. This is what we proved, right? These are all connected. Also, what would the feature be like? A 2D person got the plane, we got the space, and the perception of time, what is their superpower? And it's pretty crazy. The superpower is everything you saw in the Bible, regurgitated. But these last two ones are the most important. So it's all knowing. They look down from the fourth dimension and see your skin, your skeleton, your beating heart, and are locked safe in your house simultaneously. They can see through objects. They can see inside you. If you are sick, what do? You pray to God. What would you hope God would do? He would look inside you, take your rotten or sick part of you, take it out, replace it with a healthy one. Basically, a 4D being could do that, like we can do to Bob, a 2D person. God looks into the hearts of man. Omnipresence. They don't have to walk through a 3D space because our entire universe is a flat sheet to them. They can touch London and New York at the exact same time. The divine presence fills the entire earth. Time mastery. A fourth dimension is time. They hold your entire life like a roll of film. They can look at your birth, your present, and your future all at once. I am Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. And then these two ones are the greatest ones. Materialization. They can step into our 3D space, appearing instantly out of nowhere, and then step out, vanishing completely without moving left, right, up, or down. Angels or spirit appearing into and disappearing into thin air. And then dimensional surgery. They can reach inside your stomach, pull out an appendix or a tumor, and place it on the table without ever touching your skin. Miraculous, unexplainable, and physical healings. So basically, this is what got me to this point. I'm not trying to advocate for the existence of God. I'm not trying to make atheists believe in God. What I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to see if it all fits, and I'm trying to see if the idea of a greater being is possible. And by looking at these evidences, it might just be possible, right? Because you have what we are to Bob, a God. They are a God to us. It's possible that I can put myself here in this paper, draw myself as a paper, and just manipulate everyone inside this paper. That's what God could have done with Jesus, right? The same thing. Now, if you look at those people, and a lot of people who don't believe say Jesus was the first magician, the best magician of them all, the first one, because he was able to pull all these great stunts. Were they really stunts, or were they just things like this, appearing out of nowhere, healing people, dying and then coming back? All these things is because they could happen because they don't live in our perception of time. I think Interstellar was such ahead of its time. It's just because when Cooper finally gets into the Tesseract, into the black hole and into the Tesseract, he can finally see how life would look like for the 4D beings. It's just stacks on stacks on stacks of infinite 3D universes where Cooper makes the decision to go to space, and you can see him and Murph arguing about it. And that's why you also believe that there is life in these things. This God is here in these things because they are telling Cooper what to do in order to save. Basically, they are giving him a glimpse of what life is in there, how it works, and how he could help heal the planet, which is again crazy to think about it. So yeah, it says here how the string theory and multiverse fit in. In the 19th, science thought that universe was just a simple 3D box of space where things bumped into each other, but string theory completely rewrote the rules. For the math of string theory to work without breaking, physicists discovered the universe must have 10 or 11 dimensions. We can only see 3 of them because others are curled up tighter than a subatomic particle. But this means that the bulk, the grand hyperspace outside our universe, has plenty of room for higher dimensional entities to exist. It doesn't mean that the 4th dimension would exist in our universe the way we see it, right? With planets and all that, because a 4th dimensional being wouldn't need to have 3D things like the sphere of a planet. The multiverse is a mega universe. Our entire universe is just a single bubble floating in a much larger, higher dimensional ocean. Our other universes with entirely different laws of physics are floating right next to us. An entity that lives in the higher dimensional ocean will look at our entire universe the way you look at a single bubble in a bubble bath. Either you have this infinity of globes, universes, either you have them stacked like they have it in Interstellar, which I think it's a more accurate representation if you were to ask me. So here I was asking for some references in the Bible about this, and the references are pretty cool. Passing through solid walls. In John 20:19, the disciples are locked inside the room out of fear. The text knows that the doors were securely shut, yet Jesus came and stood among them. Instantaneous vanishing. In Luke 24:31, Jesus is eating dinner with 2 disciples. The moment they recognize him, the text says he vanished out of their sight. And the 4 dimensions of God, in Ephesians 3:18, this is the craziest one, and I'm really curious what you guys think about this, so let me know in the comments what you think about it. Saint Paul explicitly prays that the church will have the power to comprehend the true scale of Christ's love, defining it with 4 geometric terms. What is the breadth, the length, and height and depth? In standard 3D geometry, you only need 3 terms: length, width, height. But Paul explicitly adds a 4-dimensional coordinate to describe the vastness of the divine realm. How the hell did this guy knew about this? The breath. How did he knew? So yeah, I was asking what would be their weakness, because we have a weakness. We are prisoners of time. Time is our weakness. We are aware of it. That's what makes us conscious, remember? But we cannot do anything to influence it. So what would be the weakness for a 4D being? What would be God's weakness? So God's weakness would be dimensional trapping. A 4D being is mathematically massive, but if they want to interact with us, they have to push a portion of their geometry down into our space. The moment they do, that specific 3D slice of their body is now completely bound by our 3D laws of physics. If a 4D being puts a hand into our universe, that hand can be burned by a 3D fire, trapped by a 3D force field, or affected by 3D gravity. They can always pull their hand back up into the 4th dimension to escape, but while they are deep into our pond, they are vulnerable to the rules of the pond. That's crazy. So that means that when Jesus died and he came back, maybe a part of the 4D consciousness was affected as well. Higher order time, the 5th dimension. The 4D spatial being treats our version of time like a physical map that they can walk back and forth across. They are completely free. They are like subject to a higher order of time. A time 2.0, the 5th dimension. Just like we can walk anywhere we want in our 3D living room, we are still dragged forward by time. A 4D being might be able to walk anywhere they want in our timeline, visiting the year, whatever, like a time traveler, but they will still experience an unstoppable now in their own higher dimension. They will have a reversible sequence of their thoughts. Now, I'm thinking Gemini and even us as humans, we cannot imagine what the weakness B would look like. It could not be time. It would be something that is completely incomprehensible for us to understand. So coming back to this discussion, this was pretty cool. I'm not saying that we proved anything. I'm just saying that we added more food for thought to Neil's original video. How everything is connected with the multiverses and the slices of the 3D, everything is stacked together in order to form the next dimension. With the string theory saying that there could be 10, 11 dimensions. The fact that we are able to see the 2 dimension, we are able to have a perception of 4 dimension, basically proving the string theory, and basically proving the multiverse, and basically proving everything else. And the fact that thousands of years ago, people were writing texts about this. They were seeing them in their own way. The way we see Bob right now, I'm looking at Bob like this from up above. That's the only way I can see inside him. That's the only way I can be, because I have depth. That's the only way I can see as a God above Bob. That's the way God could see up above us. They saw him as somewhere up in the heavens, somewhere, in the skies. But that not might be the case. It just might be that he lives in 4th dimension and he's able to look at us from up above, like we do, Bob. So yeah, it's food for thought. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think everything is connected, if you think the creator is somewhere even on the 11th dimension, and basically these are the angels, the beings, the 4-dimensional beings are the angels, but God, the absolute creator, lives in the 11th dimension, or the latest one, being able to manipulate everything. I don't know. Most scientists don't believe in God, but the greatest ones on their deathbed all believed in God. They believed in some form of another, that there is a creator, there is a bigger force than all of us out there. I'm curious what you guys will think. Now, jumping forward to the next segment, which I think is pretty cool, and it's wild to think about it, because if we are infinitely a stack of 2D slices trapped in a 3D body, being dragged through a 4D timeline, we cannot control time, and we certainly can't change our 3D geometry. But here's the thing, while you can alter the dimensions of the universe, you have absolute control over the dimensions of the one 3D vessel you were given, your body. And yes, I absolutely read that, I absolutely took that, and I just couldn't memorize it, so I read it. I don't care. It's just great. It sounds great. It's a great bridge from what we're discussing to what I'm discussing now.
I'm going to tell everybody how great I am. What a great job I've done. What a phenomenal job. What a phenomenal job I've done.
So, on this channel, I also discuss about this is basically a channel that discusses everything. More science related, let's put it like this.
Yes, science, bitch!
But it's a channel that it's into everything. I'm also documenting my personal journey, because this year I got motivated and I decided to change some things in my life for the better. And as you guys know, I'm on the journey of improving my health, running for a marathon, quitting smokes and all that. So what I did so far is basically for the past 2 months, I've been really going at it, trying to reduce the cigarettes, which is being really hard. I think this is the worst part of the process. I'm so addicted to it. Don't smoke, guys. Whatever you do, don't start smoking, because there are some people out there like me who are chemically altered for some cigarettes. Basically, there are people who are chemically altered to alcohol. If I drink alcohol, I cannot get addicted to it. I just cannot get. But for cigarettes, it's a whole different story. depressing for me. I tried to quit so many times without success. So you know how it is. It's pretty hard, but I'm doing it. I have a plan. I'm trying to cut them out slowly. I have some routines in the morning. For me, the hardest one is before bed. It's just crazy hard. Also for running, I started running to improve my health, and I started running to improve, most importantly for me, my mental health, my mental strength. Because if I run in the morning and I put myself through that hell, nobody likes running. It's crazy. It's horrible. It's just so hard, but it teaches things. It gives you time to think. You don't run with your headphones in. You run freely. You hear the birds. You hear their sounds outside. It's just you versus yourself, right? It's the time where you get really strong mentally. So that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm running. And I got myself a goal like running a marathon. But the marathon is not the reason I'm doing it. Running it is the reason I'm doing it, the mental health. But I had a day in my beginning running training where I run for like 10K and I was pretty happy, but my knees were hurting me so bad and I had shin splits all the time. So there were some things that obviously were wrong. So what I did, and what I advise you to do as well, is I started lifting. I started to improve my weights. What I did, I am really into science, as you guys might know from this video. I looked into all this evidence-based lifting, read a lot of paper, consumed a lot of great content. I have Jeff Nippard and Nick Bear as my primary drivers for where I get my information. And I came up with a program such as a hybrid athlete, and I understood how important it is for you to know how your muscles work, how your nutrition works, how sleep affects all of this, and how can it improve greatly all these other things if you sleep correctly. So I started having this, kind of love going to the gym. So even though I hate going running, I still do it. But for the gym, even though it has the same implications like mental health, overcoming adversity, getting bigger and stronger, the fact that you're doing this, it gives you this little drops of dopamine, which are just so great for the mind. They are so great for the body, because right now we are getting instant gratification. We are getting instant gratification by scrolling through our phone and doing nothing. But every time you run, every time you work out, just try it out. If you don't, just try it out. It will make your life so much better. It will give you clarity and it will give you happiness, because after you wake up and you do a hard thing, you will think that the rest of the day is not that hard. So yeah, what I'm doing right now, I want to tell you about my program. So my program is like this. I try to bulk up. So right now I'm pretty skinny. As you see, I have no results. I mean, if you look at my muscles, they're not that big. I just started like lifting consistently a month ago. After consuming a lot of content and educating myself, I started going to the gym and actually putting into work and see what's appropriate for me. I did a lot of volume, which was not good for me. So I kind of stepped back, and now I am doing this program that it doesn't give me that much fatigue, because the central nervous system can only take so much at the beginning, guys. So don't overwork yourself. Take it easy.
Relax. Take it easy.
Don't be like me. Don't be dumb like me. Take it easy, because I had trouble sleeping because my central nervous system and my adrenaline after workouts, after running in the morning, going to work the next day, finishing work, then going to the gym, it was just exhausting, and the sleep was just affected. I think I was on go mode all the time, and it was a crazy thing. So now I have this new program where I do lower volume. I do like 15-20 sets. I know evidence-based lifting says you have to do 40 in order to bulk and grow muscle quickly. I'm not looking to buy muscle quickly. I'm looking to get stronger, right? For running and for the other goals. Basically to look better and to feel better in my own skin. But to be also strong, because it's very important as a man and even as a woman to be strong nowadays. So Monday, Tuesday, I lift, pull and push days. On Wednesday, I go running, VO2 max intervals to improve my speed, to improve my VO2 max and my lung capacity. Thursday, I take a full break. Friday, I go do legs. That's my main focus. My legs are pretty skinny. I'm not going to show you on camera because I'm absolutely embarrassed about that. But I will show you results if you're interested in this. I will show you everything. I don't care. If you're interested in that, I'll show you.
Okay.
Right now, I'm not sure if you do. So it's just an excuse for me not to show it to you. And then on Saturday, I go run again, an easy run because it's for endurance, zone 2, trying to get that. If you want to run a marathon, you don't have to improve your VO2 max. I mean, you have to, but marathons are the long distance runs, so you have to have an endurance for that. Then on Sunday, I take a short break, full rest day, and I try to eat a lot. It's very complicated for me. So giving up the smokes is very hard, and also the nutrition part is so hard, trying to eat that much. And it's very expensive, first of all, because you also have to eat healthy, right? You can't just junk food all the time, even though even junk food nowadays is crazy expensive. You have to eat healthy, and it's very expensive, it's very time consuming, and it's very hard. I'm not doing good with the meal preps, so I don't have a plan for that yet. But if you are interested in my journey, I'm not saying I'm good at this, I don't have the results to show you, but if you're interested in my journey, tell me in the comments below, and we can make like separate videos, one for science and whatever we want to talk about, and one with my personal routine if you're interested to see how I'm going from this. I have a lot of body fat, I'm skinny and fat at the same time, to however I would look like in 1 year from now and what achievements I will get. So with that being said, I think I've covered everything. I'm really happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. Drop the comments for anything you want. Let's have a discussion in the comments. And until next time, take care and bye-bye. RPDC signing out.